What's up, Internet? Welcome back to the Cigar City Book Club. I'm your host, Thad Diaz, author of the Cigar City Case Files, a hard-boiled detective series set in the city of Tampa that follows the exploits of an active duty firefighter who's a bail bondsman and a private investigator on his days off. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Martin Cruz Smith and his detective Arkady Renko and why I love them so much. So let's get started. So now, I'm going to date myself here, but I grew up during the Cold War, or at the end of the Cold War, I should say. So my earliest days, my earliest memories are early 80s. And by the way, all the things they say about the 80s, totally true. Growing up in the 80s, drinking out of garden hoses, riding on bikes until it was time to cut, until the street lights came on. All that is true. But the Cold War was still going on, and the Soviet Union still existed. And to us here in the West, we really couldn't see beyond an iron curtain. You know, it's not the connected universe, the world that we live in today. And so there was no internet or anything to tune in. So there was a lot beyond that iron curtain that we didn't really know anything about, and created a sense of dread and all the things that go along with having that kind of dynamic. And I got to tell you, um, I think that's part of the reason that Martin Cruz Smith's uh, Arkady Renko and his books attract so much attention, because they offer a peek behind that curtain, and they really lean into that mystery and what that might look like, what a hard-boiled detective might look like in Soviet Russia. And that added layer is very captivating to someone like myself, who grew up in a time period that remembers those days. Now, Arkady Renko, he has many of the qualities we would expect in a hard-boiled detective. He's tough, he's street smart, he's relentless to a fault, right? His life comes apart around him, but all he does is bears down on that case. And so we like those things about him. But he's operating in a very different world. This is not a the mean streets of Moscow are not the same as Marlowe's Los Angeles or Spencer's Boston. The corruption around Renko isn't just around about uh, greasing a few palms and maybe dealing with some bent cop. It's built. The corruption that Renko is dealing with is built into the system from the ground up. The militia, the prosecutors, the KGB, they all have their own interests, and they guard them jealously. And, even though they wear the same uniform, and even though they technically serve the same government, they're not on the same team most of the time. And so Renko has to navigate this labyrinth, and he has to know who he can cross, who he can't. And if he does cross the wrong person, he's going to lose more than his badge. He may end up at the Lubyanka prison or up against a wall. So the stakes for his particular uh, the stakes are so much higher for Renko than it would be for a Marlowe or a Spencer. Now that threat gives Renko's books a dangerous atmosphere of paranoia that you don't normally see in its American cousins, right? The Soviet Moscow is gray, it's cold, it's filled with shortages, and everyone's got to guard their tongue. They can't say too much because someone is always listening. And just because that someone might be a friend today doesn't mean they won't be in trouble later and have good cause to go, oh, well, so and so said this. Or you have a falling out and they want to get even with you. And the next thing you know, oh, well, guess what I heard about so and so. And the next, or maybe they want your job or a promotion. So all of that, is incentivized in this Soviet system of this Byzantine Soviet system. And so Renko has to be super, super careful with conducting his investigation. And that kind of paranoia turns the hard boiled atmosphere in these books up to 100. Now, I think where this book really shines um, is in Renko himself, right? Renko is Russian. He's not American. He's not an American in a fur hat and a long winter coat. Renko is a guy. He's Russian. He understands the system that he lives in, and he accepts it with that stoic fatalistic resignation that Russians are frankly kind of famous for. And he also has that resourcefulness that folks who grow up in totalitarian regimes tend to adopt, right? He he knows which rules can be bent, he knows which rules can't, he knows who he can cross, and quite frankly, he crosses them anyway. And that's one of the things that I really like about Renko, and I think that's what makes him one of the most interesting detectives to emerge from the Cold War. And that's why I'm really excited to talk about him, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. How about it? Have you read any of Arkady Renko, any of the Renko books? If so, leave a comment. What did you think of them? Do you like the Russian take, or is there someone else that you prefer, like like Condi in set in Havana? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Talk to you later.